The Digimon trading card game has officially announced that come 2025, it will be a simultaneous global release for all regions. No longer will North America and other regions be 3 or 4 sets behind. With this announcement, we also got a glimpse of what the release schedule will look like for Japan. This video will look at the pros and cons of this announcement, mainly because GTS and several other distributors have already confirmed the release dates for some sets in North America. And Bandai, I have words. With a visual from Japan's stream, we already know that the release months are set in stone for BT17, Starter Deck 17, 18, and 19, EX7, BT18, BT19, EX8, and BT20, which will be the global release. From the distributors' websites, there is currently confirmation of BT15 being dropped on February 16, 2024, with pre-release set for February 9th. FYI, from the release of this video, that is just a little over 2 weeks away. March 8th is set to release the 17th starter deck. BT16 has an expected drop date right now of May 24th, 2024, at the same time period of Japan getting EX7, and our pre-release being May 17th. The length of time between general release dates is roughly under 3 months. EX6 is set to be released on June 28th, a little over a month afterwards. And finally, a 2.5 month skip to get to BT17 on August 9th. This is so far what has been confirmed from distributor sites. But what does this mean for the months of September, October, November, and December? With a 4-month period between, there's one major issue. We still have products for Starter Deck 18 and 19, EX7, BT18, BT19, and EX8. Meaning on an optimistic track, you'd have to double up release dates of at least 2 items with a total of 5 products and a 4-month window release time. As you can see with what I have listed, I doubled up Starter Deck 18, 19, and EX7 as a single release in what I anticipate to be September, with monthly releases of the remaining sets to catch us up. This is where the video starts diving into the pros and cons of the Digimon trading card game going for a global release. For the pros of having a global release, this will affect a few items. Number 1, markets. No longer will Japan get a reveal of a new card, and then you find on TCG Player the next day that a certain card has been bought out. At this point, even I might start doing more market analysis and trend videos because everyone will be on an even playing field. Number 2, restrictions. This is one of the smaller stepping stones of why I feel the audience of Digimon has felt at times burned by Bandai. Because Japan gets to play with full power decks, there comes a point where some restrictions feel a little late. The point is, no longer will Bandai have to restrict cards to hit around certain decks because they haven't even been released yet. In my mind, yes, the purple engine with Eisbon in the past was very consistent, but at this point the engine itself has a trade-off. However, 2 of the more recent restrictions in the form of Apocalypmon and Garurumon X were cards that definitely had to go. Unfortunately, this just means that our North America format for BT15 is largely unexplored. Which takes me to my third and final point for a pro, deck building. Japan typically offers results to Western audiences on what does well with deck recipes. And because of this, when sets are released here in North America, a large portion of the meta is typically solved unless, of course, restrictions go into effect. In some ways, this supplements my first 2 points because restrictions are more likely to happen immediately than waiting for large periods of time. Additionally, if a card is seeing more play, in real time, the card will also be purchased and you'll see its demand go up. But counter to all of these pros, there are also a significant number of cons to discuss. The first being is that with so many sets for us to catch up on, I am making the assumption that Bandai releases each set one at a time. Keep listening though, I'll get to my second assumption if Bandai were to combine sets. By releasing each set individually as a standalone player, you might not be affected. But what about your local game shop? Stores have to pre-order their products months in advance. For them, they have no way of knowing whether the product will be successful or not. Case in point with EX1 Classic Collection. While prior sets of BT6, BT5, and BT4 showed much success, this set overall did not. As a result, for a long time, this set was easily purchasable at a price of $30 to $40. But if looking at it from a store perspective, they may have purchased multiple cases of this set for $55 a box, only to sell it for a loss. The reason why this is my first con is the fact that if you look at previous sets like EX4, BT13, and BT14, how many of these sets still have decks that are played frequently today? While individual cards may be used, the typical consumer won't shell out money for multiple cases and opt for singles instead. In essence, the longevity of sets typically lasts 1 to 2 sets, and then most of the decks that were played from those sets drop off. It's not that people won't play them, it's more so that you'll see less of them as more people transition to playing the newer cards. As a result, if we've had a new set every month for 4 months, formats would be very rushed and stores would likely see products sitting on their shelves collecting dust. If products don't sell, as with the similar case of Battle Spirits from one of my locals, they'll ship the product back, not carry it, and not host any more events. On the flip side, for collectors like myself, shelling out the cash for multiple cases is fine and dandy once every couple of months. If you're looking at collecting everything, including alt arts and chase cards, even purchasing 2 cases at an average of $70 a box would still equate to roughly $1,680 each month set aside for cards. For the average American salary of $59,428, this means that your take-home a month is roughly $3,500 after taxes. But how much of that goes to your rent, mortgage, groceries, and more? If Bandai were to truly release each set every month as I'm showing, I likely would be going to completely singles or just 1 case instead of 2 or 3 like I normally do. While it would guarantee myself my playsets, for creating cores and supporting my players, it'd be a lot harder. To that end though, maybe you're a player who just says, I always buy singles. It doesn't affect me regardless. In some ways, yes and no. Maybe you don't buy boxes from your locals for Digimon, but if their numbers show that they have a lot in stock and it's not moving, this goes back to the potential of killing a local scene completely. And at that point, if this was your only local game store, now what? Which takes me to the final assumption for this video: what if Bandai combined sets? Bottom line, this solution would help mitigate the damage to stores, because looking back to 1.0 and 1.5, these sets were so hot that initial prices were $70 before they jumped to $150. Honestly, when I heard the same thing happen to One Piece, I felt I was living in 2020 again. But the only issue came back to the players. As a collector, I can't tell you how hard it was to open a playset of anything from 1.0 and 1.5. There were just too many damn cards that I probably traded a lot more during this time period to get even a playset of Lilithmons. While stores may not be as burdened with set after set being moved down the production line, you will likely hear players complaining about the pull ratios or how they couldn't pull a playset of blah blah blah. I mean, it's honestly like BT11 where Bandai implemented voted alternate arts into the set, along with foil common and uncommon cards. For me, I liked BT11. For others, they hated it. But for combined sets, I'm probably on the side that would rather get standalone pulls, so I could just buy 1 case of each set and get my playsets. Because even a case of Special Booster 1.0 and 1.5 was not enough to guarantee playsets of everything. So with the announcements of a simultaneous global release, it's exciting, but it also has some concerns that we as a fanbase won't know for a while, until distributors release more information. Will it be great knowing that when I open my BT20 boxes, Japan will be opening theirs? Yes. The problem is getting there. What are your thoughts on this video, and do you feel some of the discussion points I mentioned today will influence how much you purchase in the future? Let me know in the comments, because next week, it's time to move on to BT15. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.